Hello, everybody, and welcome here to Wine with Jimmy. Delighted to have you on board. This is all about wine education on this channel. I'm doing a little special video here on the beautiful Loire Valley town that is called Sancerre. You'll see it in your picture there. It's a beautiful medieval fortress town that sits in what we call the central vineyards in the central part of France. This is close to cities such as Auxerre and also Nevers. Beautiful landscape indeed. Now, if you do have any comments or questions, please do get in touch, and you can do so by either commenting on this video below or getting in touch with info@winewithjimmy.com. So here it is. This is the map that I was just talking about. We have Sancerre situated on the Loire River. This is France's longest river at over 1,000 kilometers long. And Sancerre sits in the central vineyards, really kind of the center point of the Loire's journey as it goes from the Massif Central all the way to the Atlantic. So Sancerre's on the Loire. It's got other key appellations around it, like Menetou-Salon sitting to the west and across the River Loire, Puy-Fumé, and also Puy-sur-Loire. Now, this is a town that has a number of villages in its umbrella, and you'll find just over 3,000 hectares, producing 163,000 hectolitres per year. There are 300 grape growers, and it's a big exported wine at over 70%, you'll see on your slide. So, now, legend leads us to believe that grapes have been grown in Sancerre since the early times. We actually have some recorded evidence of this. Gregory of Tours, in his book Historiae Francorum, so the history of France, mentioned the Sancerre vineyards in his writings as early as the 6th century. By the 12th century, the vineyards had developed significantly under the expansion of certain religions and, of course, monasteries, churches, and abbeys. And the Augustine monks of Saint-Satur certainly pushed it in this area through the Sancerre nobility. But at the time, actually, Sancerre was famous for red wine made mainly from Pinot Noir and exported via the Loire River. It actually often featured in the royal chronicles of the time, with references to Sancerre Rouge found in accounts in the royal courts, and the Duke Jean de Berry believed it to be the finest wine of the entire kingdom. Post-Phylloxera, that is late 19th century, the area was replanted with Sauvignon Blanc, and it eventually gained its AOC, that's the Appellation Origine Contrôlée, which is the governing wine body, in 1936. And then, with lots of successful promotion through the likes of Paris wine fairs and the rest of the world, from the 60s onwards, there's become a very well-known household name, Sancerre, in the world of wine. Just a little bit on the villages that one finds in Sancerre. So the main place, of course, is Sancerre, the medieval fortress hilltop town, and that overlooks the Loire Valley, very much noted for le village préféré de Français, so a beautiful village, or preferred village of France. It has beautiful panoramic views from the Tour de Fiche, which is a maze of historic streets, and it has a lot of rich heritage as well. In the center of the town, you have the Maison de Sancerre, which is a discovery center that one can go and visit. Other villages, and you'll see from your map just there, we have the village of Bernay. So that's located on the river, that yellow area that you'll see on your map. You've also then got the village of Buet, which is a classic Sancerre with the church of Saint-Radengaud and also a feudal motte and abbey ruins. Crezon-Séance-Sancerre, which is that area you'll see on your map. Actually, the reddish area to the bottom has a church of Saint-Pierre and a medieval manor house. Menetou-Ratel, which is towards the western side, has a lovely church as well, and a 14th century priory. You then have the Ménétréol-sous-Sancerre, which is on the Loire's edge with a beautiful chateau called Des Aubels. You then have places like Montigny, Saint-Satur, that I mentioned is very important for the history here, which is also located on the Loire River. And then also Saint-Ghem-en-Sancerrois, which is in towards the north. Look out for others like Ceris, Tourvenay, Vourez, Vinon. But I think very important here is the one I've listed, Chavignol, which is extremely famous, certainly for goat's cheese. The Loire Valley produces 75% of France's goat's cheese. And there's a famous one here. You'll see the picture on the right-hand side, Cretin de Chavignol, which is very high quality and match very well with Sauvignon Blanc. But Chavignol is really identified as one of the key villages along with Sancerre itself. The geology that one finds here, let's just go across to this slide. And here you will see you've got a map again of Sancerre, but split into kind of three bands. So near the Loire, you have a lot of Silex, south of the Loire River, and then towards the far western side, there's a lot of what's called Terres Blanches, and then this band in the middle called Caillottes. So what are these? Silex is flint, Terres Blanches is white earth clays, and then Caillotte is kind of a mixture of clay and pebbles. You'll see some Silex in this picture here. Depending on what the Sauvignon Blanc is grown on here, you'll actually find different characteristics. They typically say that Silex gives this acidity which drives a smokiness. Terre Blanche tends to give wines with a little bit more roundness, promoting potentially more stone fruit. And then Caillotte, you get a real mixture. They tend to find roundness, freshness, aromatic on Caillotte styles. Just focusing on Chavignol there. So Chavignol, very famous for a number of sites like La Côte, a steep hillside of about 200 to 400 meters. The river and the nearby forests provide moderating influences against spring frost in this area. And then an exceptionally important area to look out for is Le Côte de Mortdamne, so the Damned Mountain slope. It's a very steep south and southwest facing slope in Chavignol composed of Kiméridian marl. And Kiméridian marl is where you will find the three major types of soils that we have. So the marl clay-based soils, the Terre Blanche, then has the mixture of potentially Caillotte or things like Silex. The Kiméridian marls would typically be very much comprised of fossilized seashells in with that clay. This terroir tends to give roundness, steepness, and great longevity to the wines, and certainly is the brightness of minerality you get from the fossilized element, and the clay gives it the roundness in the wine. Overview slide here just to show you the typicity of the wines from Sancerre. I've highlighted Sancerre on the map on the left-hand side. Typically high acids, typically sort of medium minus body, and medium alcohol is what one would find. They are dry. They are made exclusively from Sauvignon Blanc when they are whites. Reds and rosés will be made from Pinot Noir. They are often not intended for aging, but there are notable examples when you get to the more premium end. Winemaking techniques will vary from gentle pneumatic pressing to temperature-controlled stainless steel, which are generally your kind of fresh, fruitier examples. But some will use things like concrete and older oak vessels and even some lees contact to give a little bit more richness into the wine. It is the perennial debate of Sauvignon Blanc because it's quite an aromatic grape variety, so often putting it through processes like oak and lees, you will diminish that aromatic, but you will breed in more complexity. So it depends on what you want. If you are making a more commercial Sauvignon that you want really heightened aromatics, then you'll tend to avoid those techniques. Now, I've got two examples of Sancerre here, which are available in the United Kingdom from Majestic, as it says at the bottom of your slide. The examples that I've got, the one first of all you'll be trying is the Isabelle and Pierre Clément, the Domaine de Clos-Saint-Martin 2024. So yes, Majestic in the United Kingdom. This is also available at the Saratoga Wine Exchange in New York, the Cellar in New York, and the Little West Wine and Spirits in New York in the United States. Okay, let's have a look at this wine then. So it's made by Isabelle and Pierre Clement, up to 40% slopes on the Caillottes, the kind of stony clay-based soils. It's a gravity-fed winery, hand-sorted, whole cluster pressed, natural ferment, and then steel aged for 6 months with some lees contact. A very gentle 12.5% on this one. Here is the label. And I actually think this is fantastic. I've paired this one, by the way, you'll see there's a QR code just there with a traditional warm goat's cheese salad would work very nicely. Please scan that QR code if you would like to find out the recipe that you can match perfectly with this wine. I think this is a fantastic wine, actually. It's a really great Sauvignon Blanc with a lot of character. This is my professional WSET Level 3 or Diploma tasting note, showing you here that it's pale lemon in colour for 2 marks. 7 marks for the nose. I found it medium plus to pronounced intensity. Lovely lift. Youthful. And then the characters here, lots of flowers, honeysuckle, chamomile, elderflower. Apple, gooseberry, slightly riper with pear. That lemon freshness, but then I love this little bit of passion fruit and melon. Yes, it has some green pepper, but not too much. Bit of grass, bit of asparagus, but I like this fennel, dill, mint character, chalky, wet stone, and a little bit of creaminess and bread dough, which is on that secondary character. Fantastic. Dry wine, high acid, medium alcohol. Holy Trinity there, you'll see on your left. Medium bodied. So it's got some kahunas, really good flavor intensity, medium plus pronounced, and then a long length that keeps on going. I think this is an outstanding Sancerre, really good quality, but it could age. I think it's brilliant now, but you could breed in a bit more complexity with this wine. You might get a little bit more resinous and nutty as it ages, but I think it's fantastic now, in fact. So once again, that's available at Majestic and in the United States, in New York, by the Saratoga Wine Exchange, the Cellar and Little Wine, West Wine and Spirits. Our second example here is the La Porte Sancerre Le Garenne. Sauvignon Blanc, of course, again, a 2-hectare plot which faces southwest on Caillottes again. And this is gently pressed, temperature control ferment in steel. These guys have about 21 hectares in total. They're from around the Saint-Satur area, which is on the Loire, a very important area, remember, for history of Sancerre. And they have a very famous plot called Domaine de Rocheuil, which makes one of their highest end products. 2013, this was organically certified. And a specific 2-hectare plot, as I mentioned, steel for 9 months. This is really interesting. Now available at Majestic in the United Kingdom, but also Solano Cellars, California in the United States, Westchester Wine Warehouse in New York, and also Cellar in New York, USA. Now, having a look at this, you can scan the QR code. I've paired this with Sea Bream and Samphire. Something just with a little bit more intensity behind it will work very well because this is a bit of a richer expression. But this is nowhere near as aromatic as the last wine. This is pale lemon, medium intensity and youthful. And you'll see there's only a scattering of characters, a bit of chamomile, elderflower, but this is more peach, lemon, apple, gooseberry, pear. Bit of that green character, bit of fennel, dill, chalky stones, bit of bread dough cream. Now, of course, this is going to be similar in the last wine because it is Sancerre, but this is slightly more close and a bit fatter, whereas the last wine was more aromatic. So texturally, this is really lovely. Dry, high, and medium. So dry sweetness, high acidity, medium alcohol, same as the last wine, but there's a bit more body here. Towards medium body, but with less flavor intensity, around medium. So what's happened is the first Sancerre had tons of aromatic on the palate with some body, medium minus. This has got more body, but less aromatic. So it's more of a fatter wine in the mouth. Medium or medium plus length. I think this at this moment in time is a good wine, but this definitely will benefit from some age because it's not a hugely aromatic one. It needs to gain a bit more complexity. So it is more expensive, but this is a wine that you'd actually lay down or pair with food in order to really complement it. And now for time for something different, just because we're on the subject of Sauvignon Blanc, why not look at an alternative? And I'm going to go to South Africa here to the wonderful area of Constantia. So here you'll see Cape Town on this map. You'll see Table Mountain and then what's called the Constantiaberg, which comes down here. And the region of Constantia nestles into the eastern side, ranging from about sort of 50 meters up to about 350 meters. You'll see this picture here is actually from the top, from the Constantia Neck that you can walk up to. It's a brilliant walk, overlooking some of the highest altitude vineyards that you can find. Here I am recommending a really great wine, and this is the Klein Constantia Sauvignon Blanc 2023, also available at Majestic. I have recommended this before. Very talented winemaker in the shape of Matt Day. And this wine, by the way, available Majestic, but also available in California with Solano Cellars and the Wine Exchange. And then in New York with Moira's Fine Wine and Spirits, Purdy's Discount Wine and Liquor, and Cellar. So good availability on both seaboards in the United States. Matt selects from 36 parcels across the Constantia area between 70 and 343 meters altitude. Harvested at night, whole bunch press, only free run. What this means is that when he presses the grapes, just before intensive pressing, the free run that comes out is the only stuff he uses for this wine. The press juice that comes out is too sort of grippy and green for him, so he doesn't use that in this wine. So this is a lower production, but with really the best heart of the press, the natural ferment, and with some skin contact just for a little bit of time. The skin contact, from what Matt was telling me, was only like, half a day or so, just to give it a little bit more weight. This has more alcohol than the two Sancerres, but it doesn't matter. It's a very well-made wine indeed. I think this is such a good quality expression. So let's have a look at this wine then. And this is only £16.50 down to £14.50 in the United Kingdom. Pale lemon, really good intensity, medium plus or pronounced, youthful. But see here, you've got this really minty, fennel, sage, basil note, grassy, jasmine, smoky even, grapefruit, lemon, apple, lovely character behind it. Maybe a hint of creaminess, but not as much as the two Sancerres. When you taste it, dry, high, and medium. For its sweetness, acid, and alcohol. Body is similar to the first Sancerre, about medium minus, medium plus flavor intensity, so close to that first Sancerre, but more than the second. Medium plus length. I think this is very good, certainly value for money, and could age because it has a bit of that body behind it as well. So a very decent expression made from that beautiful Sauvignon Blanc grape variety. So thank you very much for your time and attention. If you haven't done so already, please make sure that you sign up to the Wine with Jimmy Club, which only costs you $3.99 a month. And you get lots of wine recommends, lots of great wine education from countries all around the world. It's very much worth it for less than a cup of coffee today. I've been Jimmy Smith. Thank you very much for your time and attention, and see you soon. Ciao for now.